So I started to dig a little bit further into Fox's analytics, and I saw where the struggles were coming from. So defense, he's a
Mm-hmm.
bottom 1% defender. Now
Mm-hmm.
you have cited before that when he dials in, it's like wow. And I think this might be a little bit more of that Tyrese Maxey effect, where he's really quick and he's twitchy, and you see spurts of it, but unless you commit yourself to that end of the floor, I think if the motor runs hot and cold, or if the offensive load is just too much and he's kind of conserving himself defensively, then I think that has to be factored in, especially for a guy who's not a rookie anymore. He's his fifth year, and if defense is still a question mark, and he's a bottom 1% defender in his fifth year, which is, by the way, 2 years beyond when guys usually figure out how to play defense at the NBA level. I think year three is when the light bulb clicks on for a lot of players. I worry about the upside of having a one-way player. Now, in terms of top end potential of what I see De'Aaron Fox, do I see, a downhill gravity version of what Trae Young is? No, because even though they're both pretty horrific defenders, Fox obviously being the bigger, more athletic version of Young, there's also a diminished value when you're swapping out a guy who's an excellent paint finisher for a guy who's an incredible playmaker and shooter. Whereas analytics probably prioritize one 1,000 times more than the other. So I think that the lack of his shot quality is terrible, by the way. If you look at LeBron, like all the analytics say shot quality for De'Aaron Fox is like bad in
But
terms
that
of first
stat
option.
again, but that stat doesn't take into account who his surrounding cast is and how they get that offense, and like how bad he's been put. Again, you are what your coaching staff puts you in terms of situations, man. And that's where I hate when people cherry pick with like analytics and there's no context to the actual offense. So unless the analytics show me that he was surrounded with a bunch of bums and a bunch of bum coaching staffs, then we can talk. Luke Walton
Well,
honestly got the job because he's a white privileged player who other guys have not gotten second opportunities. That that's a fact. And carrying the Walt name carries a lot of weight in the NBA. I don't understand how
hmm.
Vladi could fire Dave Yeager after getting them to 39 wins, which is the most since 2006. The team was heading in the right trajectory. Fox would be looked at a lot differently right now by you and by a lot of people. But what is he? But like, what does he decide to do? He decides to fire him because they needed to take the next level. And guess what? What happened the following year? They took two huge steps back. So
Look,
those are the
I
things
think
that analytics don't take into account.
here's something that I think is worth mentioning, right? If you take the ball out of this guy's hands, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not suggesting you do that, but if you did, his value goes down so much
one Hundred
because so
percent.
much of his value is with the ball in his hands.
Cause he
But if you
can't shoot
keep the
the
ball,
because he can't shoot the 3-point shot.
because he can't space, so there's no portability in terms of fitting him in next to a guy
But he's
who's
a
dominant.
great mid-range shooter though, a great one.
He's not great. He's good.
He shoots 48% on super high volume.
48% on mid-range shots is not an efficient shot in the NBA. To get
All the
like
elite
it's not.
players, all the elite scorers in the playoffs, especially. I mean, you're referring to the actual season. That's fine, but in playoff basketball, that is a shot that the elites actually get and that score at a high efficient rate. We've seen it every single year for the last 10
Yeah.
years.
Well, let me explain my perspective on this. Mid-range shooting should be, in terms of a shot spectrum, I'm talking like holistically in terms of modern offenses, should be your last resort. It should be something you can go to. It should be where
Not
it's
if you're
called
an
the
elite player.
superstar. But no, because
Oh,
we've
it is.
seen over
I'm
and
gonna agree,
dude,
disagree.
look,
I've spoken to
okay, like
so many NBA coaches that disagree 1,000% with you. 1,000%
because
with
they're
you.
because they're old and they
Kawhi
they have a
Leonard,
they're
Kevin Durant. I mean, all these dudes
Kawhi
are
Leonard and Kevin Durant are
Chris
elite.
Paul.
Okay, you're missing my point. I'm not saying the mid-range shot is a bad shot. I'm saying that to live in an offensive system in which mid-range is your first option is a bad way to go. And with someone like De'Aaron Fox, with someone like Scotty Barnes right now, with someone like Evan Mobley, where the three-point shooting is not a threat. Teams are playing you to take mid-range shots because they know that you can't look. It's a consider it like this. You're card counting at the Vegas table, right? I know that an NBA offense cannot consistently beat me in a 7-game series by generating fewer than 1.08 points or 1.06 points per possession. That means that if you don't shoot 55, 54% from mid range, that's a shot I'm willing to live with. So if you tell me 48%, guess what 48% on mid range shots results in terms of points per possession? Results in 0.98. 0.98 is well below a league average. So if you want to take mid-range shots, Bam Adebayo, you want to take mid-range shots, Scotty Barnes, you want to take mid-range shots, De'Aaron Fox, be my guest. Because I would much rather surrender that mid-range shot to you than give up an open corner three. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Now, when the corner threes are blocked, the mid-range shot from a superstar, like a Kawhi Leonard, like Kevin Durant, acts as a release valve. Okay? So that a guy can be pushed off the line and still step into 21 feet. Now, that's a great shot when it's a last resort. But you ask Kevin Durant.
What's a better shot, though? A mid-range shot or an actual drive to the basket?
No, the drive to the basket is always the functional best shot ever because no one is ever.
Right.
Look, that's where.
Again, and context matters. If you have shooters around De'Aaron Fox, there's not a soul in the NBA that can stop Fox going to the rack. Not one. Not one. So if he has spacing, again, this is the context that I'm referring to. If he has spacing, there's not one person that can stop him. That's my point.
So you are right in that De'Aaron Fox, basically to me, is like a very, very, very small Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Right.
That's my comparison for him. But
with elite shot creation, though, like he can create a shot whenever he wants. Elite handle, way better passer.
Oh my God. Okay, first of all, Giannis just literally dissected the Phoenix Suns in the finals against triple teams and averaged 40. You are not telling me that he's better than him.
Giannis is also 7 feet tall and like 260 pounds.
I don't. Yeah, but you're not taking that away from him. What I'm saying is, if Giannis was 6'4", 6'5" instead of 7 feet, and if Giannis, Giannis has shown some impressive, numbers on the mid range this year. A great deal of improvement this year. We've seen it. And we have seen so much better passing from him over the last 3 years after Nick Nurse did what he did to him. Okay, so if you take away Giannis's defense, which is, by the way, all-world defense, and you take away his height, and you take away a lot of his strength, and you retain his ability to finish in the paint, but you diminish it a little bit because while De'Aaron Fox is great at finishing in the paint compared to every other guard in the NBA, no debate here. You think he's like 56 or 57% close to the basket. That's a good shot. By the way, that's a great shot. But if you want to unlock that, you have to either have elite passing and elite shooting around him. He's not an elite passer. He's a very good passer.
He's a very good passer.
If he's a very good passer, what's Scotty Barnes?
A very good passer.
Okay, well, I'm not running an offense through Scotty Barnes right now either. So that's my point. So it's like you can't you want to run this heliocentric type of offense around him. What
do you consider a great passer? Guys who like put up Westbrook,
Luka, LeBron, Ben Simmons, Trae Young. That's the benchmark. Anything less than that, I'm sorry.
I guess, yeah.
You cannot.
Those are cerebral players, though.
Okay, but okay, maybe Ben Simmons aside, because Ben Simmons is greatly diminished by his inability to shoot, much like Fox is. But if you look at it that way, what is Ben Simmons' value right now? He's an elite paint finisher, great passer, incredible defender, and his league value is not great because he can't shoot. Look, man, you take the shot out, like De'Aaron Fox shot like what, 29, 28% from three last year. This is not a steady improvement. We're not seeing like a guy who went from 18 to 25 to 27 to 32 where there's like, oh, he's getting better every year. This is a consistent
check
problem.
How much he scored from three once Sabonis got there. 38% on 6 attempts. It's possible,
Okay,
bro. Like it's
so
there. And that's the thing
so
where I'm
so
like certain guys that can't do it, and there are guys who are capable of doing it. And when you're capable of doing it, that means there's a chance that you can reach that. And with the right
okay,
coaching, it's gonna happen though.
okay.
Trey
So
Young will
I'm
never
very
be
curious.
a like Trey Young will never be a actual good defender. Never. Never.
Okay, that's fine. But both Trey Young and De'Aaron Fox have something in common. They're both bottom 1 percentile defenders.
And the
So whether
difference
you
is that
say
one
one,
guy can actually become a very good defender with the
yeah,
right
but at 20,
culture, with the right coaching staff, and with the right players. No matter
sure.
what
I
you do
mean,
with Trey Young, that's my point here,
look,
though. So when
you
you
know,
talk about potential, that has to
mhm.
be like that has to be included, man.
You
Because
know, one
all
of the
this shit
things
is
that I
like all this shit is literally make believe anyway. Like you're literally guessing and you're projecting. So if I project that if Fox is capable of being elite, then what are we saying right now? Like you can't pick and choose just because a guy is 19 or 20 and say, well, he could be Rudy Gobert on steroids. He could be. Fox could be. So don't pick and choose could be's. They're all could be's at the end of the day.
yeah,
Literally.
but one guy you have way more. Okay, look, let me give you an example. Let's say you get a chance to meet somebody for 25 meetings, right? Let's say you have 25 meetings. You get to ask them whatever questions you want, observe them for 25 meetings. And then you have another guy where you've only met him for one meeting. You have way more information on the guy you've had for 25 meetings, right? So,
Sure.
whereas if you had projected Jason Tatum at age 20, where would he be at 24? You would be wrong because he has exceeded that. If you
Without
projected
question.
Luca if you projected Luca at 20 and see where he is at 23, you would probably be wrong. I don't think anyone was expecting him to be MJ level offensive player in the playoffs. That he had to show that. Okay, otherwise he would have been the number one pick. If you had projected someone like DeAndre Ayton at 20, you would be wrong on the other side because you were definitely expecting him to be a lot better than what he's become.
Not me.
So I'm
Go
saying,
ahead.
okay, not you, but a lot of scouts who saw him as the number one pick in that draft. Marvin Bagley, not to put a sour point on this, but also a guy who has vastly underperformed what people thought he would be. Now, even you could not have
Not
expected
me.
Marvin Bagley to be that bad. You thought he was going to be like the 30th player, 30th
No,
best player in that draft.
I
Okay,
didn't.
most people who were down on Bagley saw him as like the fifth best player in that draft, not the 30th best player in that draft. He's been abysmal. So when I look at someone like that, I'm like, okay, so you had 30 college games or 10 college games or 15 college games, a couple of pro days, workout, and that's the sample size. But with De'Aaron Fox, you have 5 NBA seasons, bro. You have to be able to make a more informed decision about this guy. What I'll tell you this. I watched De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, I saw that whole Kings iteration, and then I saw the different iteration with Domantas Sabonis. Now, whereas you are correct that Sabonis has really unlocked Fox's shooter, and even though it's not super high volume, you're 38%, it is there that the efficiency has gone up. I'll tell you though that it's very interesting to realize that you're talking about a 5-out offense, and you get a guy like Sabonis who operates in the paint, clogging up the exact space that Fox needs. And then the other side of
It
it
worked real
is
well though. Tell you that much. And do you
didn't
know
result in
why?
a
But
play-in.
but do you know why well, they both got hurt, but do you know why it actually worked well? Because when you're playing a pick and roll, if you're able to shoot the mid-range shot, then it's gonna work. That's my point. He's never played. Well, Bagley was supposed to be Sabonis, right? That's why they drafted him. Some people think, oh, well, they passed on Luka because of the fit and what Bagley could have been. There we go again, projecting players. That didn't happen. He did not become Sabonis. He was a bum from the start. He's still a bum today. So when you don't add a guy that can actually command guys that can converge on you on the roll, like Sabonis does, then guess what? That puts more pressure on your star player who you never surrounded him with the right pieces. And that's my point
Dude,
when I say culture matters, organization matters, GMs matter, context matters, and some analytics can't show that. And that's a fact. That's not an opinion. That is literally a fact.
yeah, well, you know what also is a fact? That the league average for three-point shooting goes up. every 5 years it goes up. People get better at shooting threes, and 3 points will always be worth more than 2 points. So
Sure.
you can perfect your mid range all you want, your mid range pick and roll, your pick and pops, whatever. Um, Unless you start finding players who are able to shoot that shot in the mid range contested against playoff defenses at
So
a higher clip than
as the
55%.
GM, right? As the GM, as the
Mhm.
organization, isn't that your job?
Your job is to space the floor and find shooters who can then unlock uncontested mid-range shots, because that's what, basically you want to. The healthy shot diet is that you look, most modern defenses are geared to give up mid-range shots with a light contest. What they are gearing up to do really is to drive shooters off the line from the three-point shot, because most modern defenses have figured out what some old school GMs haven't, which is that 3 points is worth more than 2 points. Now, I'm not one of those analytics only guys. I understand the value of mid-range. Obviously, I'm a Raptor fan. I saw Kawhi literally shoot mid-range shots up until a championship, but he did that with 3 point shooters around him, like Danny Green, like Norman Powell, and so, but he also shot incredibly well. Like he
But
shot a
DeMar
lot of threes too.
DeRozan, like DeRozan has never been known to be a 3-point shooter, and he just had an MVP caliber year not
But he
being a
didn't.
3-point shooter though.
But he didn't, and that's my point. So the numbers do not lie on DeRozan. The advanced stats hate this guy. They have always hated him.
Is
And
he a good
this
player or
year, if
not?
overrated, super overrated, unbelievably
I
overrated.
guess.
People, dude, we
I
saw it. What are you
guess.
talking about here? Look, let me put it this way. You hate advanced stats. It seems like you hate advanced
I
stats the way
don't.
you
I
talk
don't.
about them, right?
I don't.
But you don't like guys who talk about advanced stats without contextualizing, right?
I
Without
like
watching
good
the game.
players. I think DeRozan's a hell of a
Let,
player. I think Fox is a hell of a player.
let me put it this way. I look at teams, I look at narratives and I look at teams. Now, I understand narratives are driven by the media, and media is sometimes a little bit stupid when it comes to actually observing the game that they're watching. And I think coaches, scouts, GMs probably a little bit better at it, but still not great. Like we are really in a new age of basketball where there's so much information flying at you, like what metric means what, and all this tracking data that we're seeing. Like Scotty Barnes is second in the league in distance traveled on defense. Does that mean he's the best defensive player or the worst defensive player? I don't know what that means, right? So without context, you need to understand like what this stuff means. I'll tell you, the Chicago Bulls had a super light schedule to start the year. They jump up to the number one seed in the East, and everyone is blowing the shit up out of proportion. DeRozan is like, an MVP candidate. And what happened? The schedule got harder, and Lonzo Ball got injured. And one of the things that the analytics showed that the narrative did not was that Lonzo Ball, when healthy, was the second best defender in the NBA this year. Okay? That's what the analytics showed. That per defensive LeBron, he was literally second in the NBA. So when you take that guy out and your entire rating falls off, it's not, oh, DeMar DeRozan is having a bad season now. It's that he was being like artificially propped up as the reason for the success when in fact he wasn't. Because I guarantee you, if DeRozan had gotten hurt instead of Alonzo Ball, it would have actually hurt the Chicago Bulls less. Because you could have had Zach LaVine fill in a lot of what DeMar does,
Zach
but
LaVine was
nobody
literally
on the
injured
Bulls.
though.
But that's my point. It's like you look at someone like Lonzo Ball, and his numbers are not sexy, right? It's like sometimes he's like got like 8 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and you're like, damn, like we paid how much money for this? But the advanced metrics show that this guy is literally buying you wins every time he's on the court. He's putting up like incredible, but not box score numbers, but his on-off splits show the impact that he has as a communicator, as a passer, as a guy who just facilitates the offense. And there are just certain guys like this that analytics just show where traditional box scores don't. And so when people start to say like DeMar DeRozan without a jump shot, without a 3-point shot is, the super efficient scorer, and he's perfected who he is. And we have seen for 10 fucking years now who he is fail over and over and over and over. And we've seen Chris Paul fail over and over. And it's like, God damn it, these guys are the perfect versions of what they are. and it always fails. It always fails in the biggest moments. Why? Because when that floor shrinks and you don't have the threat to go out and shoot a 28-foot shot, look at every guy who ever outperformed his regular season in the playoffs. We're talking Luka. We're talking even guys who maintain steady performance. Dame Lillard. Like when you talk about big playoff performers, what do they have that these classic quote unquote chokers don't? A 3-point shot. So, in the modern NBA, if so many teams are taking threes and you're going to be the old school
Giannis
guy
literally
who's like,
just won a championship not taking threes. And he was literally
okay,
considered a choke artist and a non-Batman before everything went well for the damn Bucks, before KD's
look at the team around him.
Before KD's foot was on the line. And I wasn't that guy because I'm Giannis' biggest fan. But I'm saying the narrative was he's not a Robin. Let's put Dame around him. Sorry, he's not a Batman. Let's put Dame. Let's put all these star point guards around him. Why? Because he can't shoot the shot. And what did he do? He said, all you motherfuckers, like, let's go win a championship.
Giannis
That's
is
the
literally
difference.
Shaq.
Call it
So
call it an anomaly. It's fucking possible, though.
Okay, and what did Giannis do this year without Chris Middleton? He got bounced in the second round.
To your Celtics, who is historically a great defensive team. That's like
they are.
You act like they lost to some fucking bums.
They didn't lose to bums.
Exactly, and they lost in 7.
But
like,
look,
what are we saying?
Dude, look at the roster building around Giannis. You have to have a historic 3-point shooter at the center, like Brook Lopez, who's like shooting incredible percentages.
That's my point. It's the GM's job to put the best players around your star player. Some the Kings haven't done in 5 years for De'Aaron Fox. Some they never did with DeMarcus Cousins.
So
go ahead.
We can end this De'Aaron Fox thing by saying, look, if you are saying that the Kings have not put the right team around Fox to succeed, I agree with you. What I'm not agreeing with you is that Fox is the type of guy that you should be building a roster around. I don't think that he's the guy that you should be like literally tailoring your entire offense. Like, okay, we got to swap out Holmes, we got to swap out Harrison Barnes, we got to swap out this guy, we got to trade Tyrese Halliburton, we got to draft this guy because they fit in with Fox. Because the one thing that Giannis gives you that Fox does not is defensive player of the year upside. Now, if Fox were any one of the following things plus what he already is, I would agree with you. Because he's young and he's extremely talented and physically gifted. If he was a lockdown defender, which he is not.
Which he can be.
He cannot be. A lockdown defender, we're talking Marcus Smart level lockdown defensive player of the year. We're talking first percentile defender.
You don't have to be that. Like, you don't have to be that.
No, man. What I'm saying is you don't have enough. It's like a watermark, right? With Giannis, if you take away his defense, he's no longer worth building around. That's not enough. You can't just be a non-jump shooting, post playing, rim running big man who doesn't play defense. Ben Simmons, same thing. Ben Simmons is not worth building around, period. But like you look at a guy like Giannis, you take one part of that out, he's not Giannis anymore. If he's not a historical defender, if he's not an efficient post player, if Giannis just couldn't score, if Giannis just could not score, if he had not found a way to score so efficiently from the post and on drives and in transition, if he was just a zero on offense, you could not build a championship team around him. You'd be playing 4-on-5.
Agreed.
So my point is that if you're going to build around a guy like De'Aaron Fox, which, if I'm looking at the Kings roster right now, which they have decided to do. I mean,
5 years in. 5 years in, and now he's perceived.
You gave him a max contract.
And fuck, you had to. It's just like the housing market. You are what the market says you are. Period. If you think this house is worth $400,000, guess what? If they're asking $500,000, you gonna give them $500,000. That's just the way it is, brother. That's just. I mean, if the Kings don't give him a wait. If the Kings don't give him a max, guess what? Someone else would have, and that's just the way it is.
I don't know about that.
Stop it. Before this last season, every team in the NBA would have given him a max contract. Every team.
Not every team could have given him a max contract.
That's
Number
my
one,
point. But
and number
every
two,
team that could
yeah,
have would have given it to him.
okay, sure, but
No, of
once
course.
again,
Why? Because he was
they would they
23.
would
Wait.
they would be
Because he
doing
was
what you're
23 and he was coming off of what? 25-7 season. You pay that man a max contract because you're what? You're projecting, right? Right?
but you pay it because you're the Knicks. You pay it because you're the
Oh
freaking
my
Knicks.
God. You're paying it because
That's
you're
why
the Raptors. You're paying because if you
no.
have the money, you're going to pay
Toronto
this
Raptors
man.
would never.
Oh
The
my
Toronto Raptors would
God.
never, ever, ever pay De'Aaron Fox a max. Are you kidding me? This
They're
team
about to pay
prioritizes
Van Vliet a
two-way.
max.
They're not going to pay Van Vliet a max.
If you
They're not
to
going to pay Van
me
Vliet.
to me, if you make over $23 million, you're pretty much a max player contract.
Van Vliet makes 19 million, 20
Right,
million.
but you said on this next contract he's gonna make over $23 million. I'm
He's
not
probably
paying that.
25.
There you go.
Okay, but you can argue all you want, dude. But what I'm saying is what De'Aaron Fox.
Would
like,
you rather
what
pay
Van
Fox
Vliet
25 or would you rather pay Van Vliet 25? Stop it. Go ahead.
What? But
Don't
once again,
even start.
If,
Oh my God, I can't with you, bro. Really?
dude, you are talking
Really?
about one of. Okay, let me put it this way. I don't
Oh
like
my
Van Vliet. You know that,
Lord.
right?
Oh
You,
my
whoa, 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 whoa.
God.
You understand that I do
I'm
not
gonna
like
email
Van Vliet,
Messiah
right?
right now and I'm gonna be like, real talk, drop the bullshit, Messiah. Who are you picking at $25 million a year? Hands down. He's gonna laugh at me like, why are you asking me this? And he's gonna hang up, be like, yeah, Fox, duh.
I think you and I have a very big disagreement on the value of 3-point shooting. 39% 3-point shooter and a good defender for a guy who's
A
bottom 1%
midget
defensive. Okay, come on.
who
Come
can't
on.
finish at the rim, who you always criticize for, who like
Yeah,
who
I
has
agree.
no
I
moves
agree.
to like,
But
oh my God.
if you like, both of them are decent-ish passers. Okay, I don't agree with you that Fox is a good, Scotty Barnes level passer, or whatever. But we can agree to disagree on that.
He
But
averages
okay,
7 assists a fucking game with a bunch of bums.
but I mean, come on.
He would average
You
10
can say,
assists a game if guys would hit at least like 10% more of their shots.
dude, at some point you got to realize that if you're a guy with the ball and everyone around you is classified as a bum, you're a big reason why they're classified as a bum. Harrison Barnes started on a team that won 73 freaking games, and he's a better player today than he was back then. Rashawn Holmes is a good player, okay?
Rashawn Holmes didn't play most of the year last year.
Domantas Sabonis, okay, tell me this. Is it, you told me last year that you thought Domantas Sabonis and Pascal Siakam were basically even
Right.
as players, right?
Right.
Okay, so what are we talking about here? Fred VanVleet basically won with Pascal Siakam missing quarter of the season. He got his team while hobbled, OG missing half the season. Like, are we saying that the coaching gap between the Raptors and the Sacramento Kings is just so big?
It's so big.
Or maybe
it's so big.
Man,
it's
let me tell you
so
something.
Nick Nurse is a top 5 coach in the game. Stop it.
If you replace Fred VanVleet with De'Aaron Fox on the Kings last season, y'all make the playoffs. I'll tell you that right
now. God.
You would. You really are not looking at projected wins, man. De'Aaron Fox is
to me.
Dude, De'Aaron Fox is a negative player, dude. Like, you're not seeing this, but I am telling you, he averaged negative wins this year. Negative.
You put Nick
negative
Nurse
box
with
plus
De'Aaron
minus.
Fox, and it's a different ballgame. I promise
Do
you
you
that.
understand do you understand how bad you have to be a negative box plus minus player in your 5th year? Do you understand how historically bad you have to be? And that's after an uptick